Okay, so I want to start the show with the Chargers-Raiders. That's the best football game of the season. That was the best NFL football game of the season. It was crazy. So I'm going to get to something in about 5 minutes, but I want to address Brandon Staley, the overtime timeout. Remember they talked about the overtime timeout? And, did that make the Raiders say, hey, now we're going to go for the win instead of settling for a tie? I don't believe the Raiders ever thought that because a tie means you face Kansas City. Yeah. A win, like the Raiders got, and you face Cincinnati. I'd rather face Cincinnati. I'll get to that in 5 minutes. Brandon Staley could be a great coach. He's got 3 things working against him, and they're all optics. Number 1 is Justin Herbert is great. 5,000 yards, 67% completion percentage, 98 passer rating, Pro Football Focus top 4. So Brandon Staley is the only coach in the NFL with a star quarterback that didn't get hurt, that missed the playoffs. Bad optics. Number 2, going for it. Your own 18, trailing by 3, on the road against Derek Carr, and you have a second-tier defense if you don't get it. Bad optics, you failed. 3, you're a defensive coach. You're 29th in total defense. Most of the defensive coaches in this league, they have issues like New England, but a great defense. Like Miami, but a great defense. Like Denver, but a great defense. Like Washington, but a really good defense. Like Pittsburgh, but a really good defense. You got to master your side of the ball. So let me start with Brandon Staley and the analytics. He's a big analytics guy. I like analytics too, but I believe in manalytics. Do not reduce men to numbers. I'll give you an example. When they went for it, I wouldn't have. 4th and 2 at their own 18. Are you considering that you're on the road and your quarterback can't necessarily hear, meaning some of your offensive linemen can't hear and they won't get the push? Do all the Princeton analytic grads, they ever consider that? Ever athletic in their life and actually couldn't hear in a stadium? All the analytic people forget stuff like, oh, God, if we don't make it, we give it to Derek Carr. He doesn't go backwards. So they're going to get some points. They did a field goal, which is how many they lost by. Does anybody ever think about that stuff? Your defense, Chargers defense, is bad. It'd be one thing if I had a great defense and I was facing a terrible quarterback there. And I'm like, yeah, I got Pittsburgh's defense and their quarterback's a backup. I can push them backwards. I'm giving it to Derek Carr with my defense on the road. My offensive guys can't hear, so you're not going to get the push. Like, there's got to be some context for some of this stuff. I know you're all brilliant out there in your analytic world. Did you ever play a game with men, alpha males? Like 4th and 2 on the road, the defensive guys are going to get a better push. They can hear. I mean, a lot of this stuff is watch teams on the road. I always said I'd be much less willing to go for it in certain situations based on my players. And Peyton Manning always says this during the Manning cast. Get the points. Watch the drive. You're getting pushed back every third play. Just get points. It feels good. You go to the sidelines. Everybody's in a good mood. So I hated that call. So a lot of this with Brandon Staley is just bad optics. And he doesn't have a winning resume. Again, if Andy Reid did it or Bill Belichick, they'd get some pushback. But when you've never won anything, you got Justin Herbert, you can't make the playoffs. The dysfunctional Raiders, if they beat you, are in the playoffs. You don't have a winning resume. I mean, I can take more big opinions as a popular radio guy than somebody in Iowa doing weekends praying they get another contract. We all know that in life. If your resume is greater and broader and wider and with some success in life, you can withstand skepticism and cynicism and criticism. Brandon Staley, a lot of this stuff's just bad optics for a franchise historically that chokes in big spots. So now it's like, oh, the coach chokes, the franchise chokes. Thank God the kicker was good last night. The other thing is the question about overtime and calling the timeout. And this goes to the bad optics. So Brandon Staley is a defensive coach, and he called the time out in overtime. And the sense is, he called a timeout in overtime. And because the Raiders got like good yardage, the Raiders were going to go for a tie, which I don't think deep down was necessarily what I'd ever want to do, play the Chiefs at Arrowhead more than the Bengals. As a defensive coach, you called a timeout. You put your best defense on the field, and you still couldn't stop it. So your side of the ball in the biggest part of the season for one play couldn't make it. It's not calling the timeout. If you called a timeout and you stone the Raiders right there, I'm good with it. It's that you call a timeout and you can't fix your defense for 17 weeks. What's been the liability for the Chargers all year? The run defense. The one way to lose with a star quarterback is if you have a lousy run defense and he ends up sitting on the sideline and watching the other quarterback. So again, I don't know if Brandon Staley can coach or not. I don't know. He just sounds like a smart guy, and the media loves smart analytic guys. But it's the optics for an organization that whiffs too much in big spots. You don't have a winning resume. The analytic stuff feels much better when Andy Reid does it, doesn't it? Or Nick Saban does it, or Bill Belichick does it. Again, if you're in your career and you're just trying to survive, and let's be honest, we're going to have 8 new coaches have new jobs. You're just trying to survive. You got to consider that too. Well, that's selfish. I'd only be worrying. Ask your wife what she thinks. Yeah, occasionally you need to be selfish as a head coach. Got to worry about you. Ask your kids who like their school. They want you to be selfish sometimes. They want dad to have that cool job with the Chargers. You got to think about everything. But this analytic stuff, this idea that you don't consider, I'm handing the ball if we fail on this 4th down to Derek Carr. I'm handing this to their running game, which in the last month has been on fire, to their kicker that doesn't miss. Darren Waller is healthy. We're on the road. My defense, if I give it up and don't make it, my defense can't stop the run. You're not going to consider any of that stuff? The fact that you don't have a winning resume, that sometimes it's just safer for the locker room, going into half sometimes, depending on the situation, to just get the points. I mean, are we going to live in a world now where context doesn't matter? I got 6 kids. Context is everything. They're all different. I know the parenting book says this and the parenting book says that. Yeah, but when they're screaming in the car on a 4-hour road trip, pull over, get them popsicles. I know it's a sugar high, but it makes them happy until the road trip ends. Sometimes you do what you got to do. You don't go for it there. You don't call a timeout there. I mean, again, the analytics say, I know what I say this morning. You're out of the playoffs and the Raiders are in. And the Raiders don't feel as analytically driven to me. I don't know. It's just me. But God, if I have to hear it again, the analytics say this and the analytics say that. What do the men in your locker room say? What does your defense look like? Are they tired? Does your defense, can they stop the run? Are you at home or on the road? When Justin Herbert's doing this the whole game, he can't hear. I'm going to be less willing to go for it on 4th. I don't care what the slide ruler guys say. And I don't know if Brandon Staley can coach. Maybe he's great. But he's out of the playoffs. And an interim coach is in. I never hear anything about the interim coach's analytics. That's all I know. I don't hear anything about it. Total chaos therein. All right, Brian Flores out, Dolphins coach. Shocked? Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Except for one thing. It's the Dolphins. So I'm not totally shocked. I want you to take the telescope and turn it for this. Everybody in the media. I can't believe it. Unbelievable. This is terrible. I can't believe it. I think most of the time you come to me for some clarity, let me offer some. It's the best thing that ever happened to Brian Flores. You can't win in this league with Tua big time. Look who's in the playoffs right now. Derek Carr, Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray. Folks, Josh Allen. I mean, it's look around. Look around. I mean, I'm not even a huge Dak Prescott fan, but he's B+, and some days like Saturday, he's A. So you're not going to win in this league long-term with Tua, and it looks like Chris Greer, who drafted him, is more of a Tua fan, according to reports now coming up, than Matt Flores is. Matt Flores is the guy that's, he looks around and goes, let's see, I used to be with New England. We had Brady. They won Super Bowls. Then he went to Tampa, and they win Super Bowls. And now Bill Belichick has Mac Jones, and I just beat him, and they're not winning Super Bowls. It's not hard to figure out. He was going to get fired in Miami because everybody in this league gets fired who doesn't have a star quarterback. Everybody. Mike Zimmer's a good coach. He's out of work. Fangio's one of the 2 or 3 best defensive minds in football. He's out of work. Brian Flores is a great coach. But I think he'll upgrade. And I think Brian Flores is wildly respected. I think anybody who pays attention knows when you win as many games as he has won, back-to-back winning seasons with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua, there is no doubt he can coach. But not all firings are the same. Sometimes a dysfunctional organization, I don't know, like the Dolphins who haven't won a playoff game in 21, 22 years, sometimes when they let you go, it validates you. It's like oh, they really don't know what they're doing. And this morning, the Miami Dolphins really don't know what they're doing. Brian Flores does. They got to pay him some money. He should head to the beach, hang out, watch the playoffs, and be very, very, very picky. He should be very, very, very picky. My only criticism of coaches like Brian Flores sometimes, they get impatient. They think, I'm never going to get another job. No, you're going to get another job. You're going to get a really good job. Just make sure, like the Raiders, you get Derek Carr, if that's open. Just be patient. Sit around. By the way, 2 weeks ago, I told Joy on the show, I said, there's only like 3 coaches going to get fired. This morning, what are we up to, 6? Joe Judge is interviewing. Matt Rule's interviewing. Could be 8. So every 4 years, this league turns over every coach. Every single one. Take a deep breath. Money's not an issue. You're totally respected. And now you'll land in a better place. Maybe a place that's won a playoff game in 22 years with a quarterback with more range, size, less injuries. Not a knock on Tua. It's the reality of the NFL. Look who's into the playoffs and look who's not. There's only one team in the league that has a star quarterback that didn't get hurt. That's it. Not in. Justin Herbert. Chargers. That's it. And we're all crushing his coach today. So I think you have to just take a deep breath on this. Not all firings are the same. This is a really smart guy and a really good coach, and he's winning a bunch of games against Belichick and Josh Allen. And it's not like it's a bad division. There's like the best coach ever and maybe the best pure quarterback talent in the league. And he is stringing together win after win after win after win with a little guy with an average arm who doesn't move around, who's been hurt multiple times. Like, I look at this and I'm like, if I'm his agent, I'm like, bro, it's the best favor anybody ever did. There are millions of Americans over the course of years and years. Every year, there's hundreds of thousands of Americans who are let go or fired. I mean, look what the pandemic did. And how many of you in the pandemic went, hell, I like working at home better anyway? How many people in America went into early retirement? They just needed a push, a shove. And they're like, we got enough money. I don't want to go back to that big cubicle. How many people in America were like, I like working at home more. I get more done at home and I can have coffee when I want and I don't have to. This is a great opportunity for an excellent young coach to upgrade. Feel bad for him when I heard it. And then I thought, yeah, what? This is his last job? You got to be kidding me. I would hire, if I owned the Raiders, I would hire Brian Flores today. With all due respect to the interim guy, because maybe he earned a job too. He did a great job. If you want to give the interim guy the coach, great. If not, I got 2 guys I want to talk to, Harbaugh and Brian Flores. He'll be fine. My guess is he'll be in a better space than the current Dolphins GM in 4 years. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.